Is it G, R, or X? And I'm going to let you decide. I got a call this last week from the Playboy Club in L.A. And the phone rang, and the lady on the phone said, is this Pastor Scott? And I said, yes, it is. She said, well, could you hold for just a moment? Mr. Hugh Hefner would like to speak with you. So I waited, and Mr. Hefner came on the phone, and he said, so Pastor Mulvey, I hear that you're starting a series on sex, and as you know, I'm kind of an expert on the subject. And he said, I would like to invite you to the Playboy Club, a mansion here, and maybe you and I could chat a little bit. I'd like to be an advisor for you on your subject. And I said, well, Mr. Hefner, with all due respect, you know, I'm a pastor, and I don't think the Playboy Club is really the place I should be hanging out. You know what I'm saying? And he said, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We get all kinds of pastors up here every week. He said, some famous ones, in fact. He said, you have nothing to worry about, right? He said, besides that, he said, I understand that you're a vegan, and I'm going to have our chef make the best vegan dinner you've ever had. And we're going to have eclairs for dessert. I said, well, Mr. Hefner, I think you've got my attention now. So I am going to be flying out this next week to meet with Mr. Hefner at the Playboy Club, and I'll be bringing you back a report next week. Because next week we are talking about animals and angels. Today, our subject is leather, lace, or apples. Leather, lace, or apples. I'm excited about this subject. I think I'm more excited about this subject than any other subject I've ever had the privilege of sharing on. And the funny thing is I've never ever shared on this subject. In all the years that I have been married, I have never shared on this subject because I've always been a little bit afraid and very intimidated, because I understand that in a room like this we have all kinds of folks. We have players sitting here. We have abusers sitting here. We have some very religious people sitting here with very religious views. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask that you just kind of put all of your prejudices aside for a minute, and let's take a run at this subject. Is that all right? Yes, all right. So we're going to start. When you start, you know, the Bible, if they made a movie out of the Bible, the way that the Bible really is written, the movie would not be rated G. How many of you know that? Yes. The Bible is not a G-rated book. In fact, in the Bible, you have incest, you have genocide, you have polygamy. You even have a guy cutting his wife, dead wife, cutting her up into 12 pieces and mailing her to his neighbors, all right? And that's within the first 5 books of the Bible. We haven't even got beyond the Pentateuch, and you've got all that happening. Amazing. Why is God so graphic? Because God speaks our language. God isn't so high and lofty and spiritual that he cannot communicate on our level. So I'm going to give you 4 simple points this morning as we look at leather, lace, or apples. I'm going to give you 4 simple points. The first point is simply this. It is a man with his sister. In 2 Samuel, chapter 13, verse 1 through verse 22, and I'm not going to read you the whole story. I would encourage you to go back and read it later this afternoon. It's pretty graphic. But 2 Samuel is a book that records King David's activities as he ruled Israel. And in this book, 2 Samuel chapter 13, we come to a story about one of David's sons, and his name is Amnon. And he has a sister, and her name is Tamar. Amnon, the story goes on to say, falls deeply in love with Tamar. She doesn't know it. In fact, he falls so in love with her, he's totally sprung on his sister. He falls so in love that he gets depressed. I don't know if you've ever been that in love before, where you love somebody and they don't love you back, and all of a sudden you fall into a deep depression over it. He gets so depressed that he gets sick. Amnon's friend and advisor notices that he is sick, and he says, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" And Amnon says, "I've fallen in love with my sister Tamar. Man, I can't stand it. I'm so sprung on her, I don't know what to do. I'm making myself sick." And Amnon's friend / advisor comes up with a plan. He says to Amnon, he says, "I've got an idea. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to get in bed and act really, really ill. And when your father, King David, hears that one of his sons is ill, he's going to come and visit you. And when he visits you, this is what I want you to do. You tell your dad that I am so sick, and I really would like my sister, Tamar, to be sent to me to kind of care for me. Give me an aspirin and a bottle of water and cook some nice soups for me until I get better." Now, King David, he is a great warrior. No doubt about it. But can I be honest with you? He's about the dumbest father in the whole Bible. You see his stupidity played out over and over and over again with a number of his sons, Amnon being one, Solomon being Absalom being another. He just is not a very smart dad. So he decides, yeah, I'll send my daughter to take care of you. That was really dumb. He sends Tamar to wait on his son Amnon. And Amnon, the plan is this, that when she comes in and she starts cooking, that he is going to tell everybody else to leave the bedroom, which he does. And he locks the door and he rapes her. As he's raping her, she pleads with him, "Please don't do this horrible thing. If you would just go to my dad and ask him to give me to you in marriage, I'm pretty sure he would do it. Why do you insist on raping me?" But the Bible says this, and I want you to listen carefully. It says, "But he refused to listen to her. Since he was stronger than she, he raped her." Now, we could stop there, and that would be horrible in and of itself. Would you agree? A man using his strength against a woman that is smaller and weaker than him to force himself on her. That's horrible. But if that's not bad enough, the very next verse says this, "Then, after he's raped her, then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her with more hatred than he had loved her." Now, as I read this, I thought to myself, you know, any time that the writer in the Bible pulls something out and draws and shines a light on it, it's for a very specific reason. These verses are not here by mistake. God is trying to communicate something here through this horrible, tragic story. He is so sprung on her that he is sick. And he is depressed. And he concocts this plan with his friend to take advantage of her, to get her alone in the bedroom. And he proceeds, because he's a bit stronger, he proceeds to rape her. The writer tells us this. But it's almost as though the writer wants us to know something that happened after the fact, as much or more so than the fact itself. The writer says to us, he says, and he hated her with more hatred than the love that he had for her. So with all the intense love and that he had for her, that it made him sick, when he was done using her, the hatred that he had for her was more intense than the love that he had for her. Now, it's hard for me to get my mind around that. One, it's hard for me to get my mind around the fact that he would rape her, his sister. Second, it's hard for me to get my mind around that level of hatred, that it would exceed the level of love that he had. And I had to ask myself, why? Why that level of hatred? What was going on with Amnon? And I believe it can be summed up in just one word. And that is the word lust. Lust. Some of us, we don't like that word. Some of us, we hear it a lot to where it's become meaningless. But it is the word lust. You see, lust can drive you to do some pretty frightening things. Lust. Lust can own you. Lust can have power over you. Lust can make you miserable. And every once in a while, lust has something to do with sex. Not always, but sometimes. Which brings us to our second point. And the second point is this: a tree and an apple. To understand lust, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of creation. Tree and an apple. God, in the book of Genesis, he creates a garden. And the Bible doesn't tell us how big the garden is, but I can only imagine that God, in his ability, creates one huge garden. In fact, I would only guess, the Bible doesn't tell us this, but I would only guess that if you started at one end of the garden, you would never in your lifetime see the other end of the garden. Just huge. Millions and millions and millions of trees and fruits and varieties. And he puts Adam and Eve in the middle of the garden. And God says of the garden, God says that all of it is good. It's all good. In fact, God proclaims it. God says that all of this is good. But for it to truly be good, it can't be forced on Adam and Eve. Because when something is forced on someone, it is no longer good. It becomes bad. So God, in his great wisdom, he plants another tree in the garden. And this tree is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And he places it in the garden. Now, Adam and Eve have a choice. All that God has made is good. But in order for it to remain good, he has to give Adam and Eve a choice. He can't force his goodness on them. He has to put them in a position where they have a choice. And Genesis goes on to say that when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, she took some of it and she ate it. What was it about this tree? What was it about this piece of fruit? What was it that got her attention to where out of all of the trees, out of all of the fruit, out of all of the vegetation, out of it all, this one tree grabs her attention? What was it about this piece of fruit? Whatever it was, it grabbed her, and it appealed to her senses. It appealed to her sense of smell, her ability to see it. She touches it, she appreciates it, and then she eats it. Lust always appeals to your senses. Sight, smell, touch, taste. I can't tell you the countless people I've had in my office over the years tell me things like this. Pastor, it was the smell of her perfume. I got a whiff of that perfume and it just did something to me. It was, Pastor, it was the touch of his skin. Even when we meet and greet at church, I touched him and something happened to me. It was the feel of the fabric. There's something about this fabric. I don't know what it is. It's the feel of the fabric. And it was their shape. What I saw, I liked. It appealed to my senses. I was talking with Ashley the other week about this subject, and we were talking about a pipe. I don't know how we were on that subject, but she brought me a cigar. I was going to show it to you, but it's in my office. And I was looking at the cigar this morning, and it's wrapped in a nice cylinder. It's nice looking. Just makes me want to open it and see what's inside. And I did. And what's inside is this beautiful cigar wrapped in a wooden wrap, kind of a thin wood wrap paper. And it felt good. And I smelled it because I think some of you know I used to smoke cigars in my past. And in fact, I have a thing for cigars. I don't anymore, so don't condemn me and tell me I'm going to hell, right? But I used to buy them out of Florida, and I smoked some very fine cigars. So I know a good cigar when I see it. That's a good cigar. That's what. For those of you that smoke cigarettes, it's not the cigarette, is it? It's kind of buying that pack. You go to the store and you buy the pack of cigarettes, and it's holding the pack. And it's unwrapping the cellophane off the pack. It's appealing to your senses. It's tearing the corner off one side of the pack, and the smell just hits you, the smell of the cigarettes. It's taking the pack and knocking it to one cigarette comes out, and then it's holding the one cigarette. It's the strike of the match as you light the end of the cigarette. And sometimes it's even the cup of coffee that goes with it. It's not just the cigarette. It's everything that cigarette has around it. Amazing. It appeals to our senses. You know, I bought Deborah a new iPad. And I followed Apple for many, many years. In fact, I read a book on the genius of Mr. Jobs. Just absolute genius. You know, one of the things that Apple does best isn't the technology, it's the packaging. Did you know that? Yes. I keep the package. I don't know which phone this was. It's in one of my drawers in my office. I've got several boxes, and everything I buy from Apple, I keep the box. This is absolute genius. There's no real writing on it except very faint writing that says iPhone. It's white, clean, and crisp. In fact, I've seen videos of people that have bought Apple products, and they literally gather their friends around while they open the package. People are taking pictures of them opening the box and posting it on Facebook. Seriously. Because they have captured the genius of advertisement like no other company I've ever seen. This is ingenious. It is sexy. Oh my God, this box is sexy. That's why I keep it. There's nothing in it. The phone's sitting over there, but I keep the box. I can't throw it away. It looks sexy. stepped inside, it was sexy. You see, it appeals to all of my senses. You see, when God said of his creation, it is good. What he meant was, I created it to appeal to all of your senses. All of the flowers and the fruit is to appeal to your sight and to your sense of smell, to your sense of touch, to your sense of taste. God appreciates how things feel, smell, and look. Just look at a flower, look at a lily, look at his creation, and you cannot but acknowledge the fact that God appreciates what he has created and has instilled in it beauty to appeal to all of our senses. And because we are created, what? Because we are created in his image, we use our senses to appreciate the very things that he has created. Let's go back to the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The Bible does not say that that fruit was evil. The Bible does not say that that fruit was bad. The Bible does not say that that fruit was corrupt. The Bible does not say that that fruit tasted bad. In fact, everything that God created is good. Eve even said, she looked at it and she made the comment, it is good for food. It is good for food. This is a good thing. It is good for food. There's nothing bad about it. It's good for food. But what Eve was doing when she took the fruit and she ate it is this. Eve was making a choice to choose another way. Listen carefully. That's what lust does. Lust in and of itself is not evil or bad. But it calls out to you to make a choice for another way. Make a choice for something that is different. Make a choice that is choosing not God's best. Not God's best. I'm making a choice. I'm not choosing what is God's best. But I'm choosing another way. God clearly said in the garden, let me tell you what is best. All of these trees are best. Eat anything you want. But this tree over here isn't my best for you. It isn't my best for you. Don't eat it. What was it that drew her attention to the one tree? All the other trees, but her attention's drawn to the one. Because a lot of times in life, our attention is drawn from God's best to our making a choice in what we think might be best. We choose him. We choose her. We choose this. We choose that. And somewhere deep inside, we know it's not God's best. But we make a choice for something that we think it could be best. We can make it best. But God was clear when he said, all of this is my best, but that one thing isn't my best for you. Don't do that. You see, you have to make a choice in life. Do you want God's best for you, or are you willing to settle for something that looks good? Eve said, the fruit looks good. It looks good for food. Everything about it was appealing. But it wasn't God's best. Sometimes we make choices in life for that thing that we think looks good. That brings me to my third point. Is it really? Is it really? You see, the appeal to Eve's senses comes with the promise that the fruit will deliver something that it can't. The fruit is appealing to her senses with a promise that I'm going to give you something that it really cannot deliver. In fact, she is told this. She said, surely you're not going to die. If you eat this fruit, surely you are not going to die. How many of you know that Eve is dead? In fact, when I get to heaven, I've made this very clear. When I get to heaven, her and I are going to have some words. I don't believe in hitting women, but that's one woman I'm going to knock out when I get to heaven, okay? You can report me and have me arrested afterwards, but I'm going to duke it out with her because she sold us out for a piece of fruit. Million trees to choose from, millions of fruit to choose from, a variety. I don't believe that they could have ever eaten one of every kind of fruit God prepared for them. But this one piece of fruit grabs her attention. It wasn't the fruit that is evil that I said. It is the fact that she shows a dissatisfaction with the rest of God's creation. That's what lust becomes. When lust begins to drive our life, it is because there is a dissatisfaction in us that we don't know how to deal with. And lust always says that I have an answer to meet that need. Lust makes a promise that it cannot deliver. But the appeal is based and rooted in our dissatisfaction. We start believing that we are missing something. And it's fueled by advertisement, it's fueled by discussions, it's fueled by all kinds of stuff. But we start believing that I'm missing something in life. Lust always starts with one word, and that word is if. If I only had her. If I had that. If I had him. If I drove that. If I lived there. If only I had that, I truly would be a happy man. If. And then we go after it, only to find that it makes a promise it cannot deliver. The word in the Greek is epithumia, and it is actually two words. It is the word epi, which is in, and the word thumos, which is the mind. It is something that happens in our mind. It's interesting. The car industry has mastered this. Now, they're not as good as iPhone, but they're a close second. You live in an apartment in a city, and you're watching TV, and the commercial comes on, and it's this brand new SUV. Luck would have it, it's in the color that you like best. It's crimson red. And it's driving, it's winding through the hills and through the mountains, and you can see the coastline, and it's so picturesque. And on top of the SUV is a canoe. And inside the SUV are the happiest two white people you've ever seen in your life. Which is a lie. Most white people aren't happy, okay? But they're just smiling and loving on each other. In fact, he's only driving with one hand because he's got his other hand around her, and they're making out as they're winding through the mountains. And then you think to yourself, I want to do that. I want to go to the mountains, and I want to go to the beach, and I want a canoe. I want to get out of what I have because I want that. And I want to be a happy white couple. Some of you will never work, okay? I want to be a happy couple. I want to look at her and our eyes twinkle and all that stuff, right? So you go out and you buy the SUV that you cannot afford. And it parks in your driveway. 5 years later, you have never been to the beach. You have never been to the mountain. You haven't even bought a canoe. And you're still not a happy white couple. But it was something that drove you to it. They appealed to your senses. And it was if, capital I, capital F, if I had that, I would be happy. And it makes a promise that it cannot deliver. We're going to look at Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17 through verse 19. And I wanted to read this portion of Scripture because Paul addresses this clearly. He says, so I tell you this, and insist on it in the Lord, that you must no longer live as the Gentiles do, in the futility of their thinking. They are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts, having lost sensitivity. Remember that word. Having lost sensitivity, they have given themselves over to sensuality so as to indulge in every kind of impurity with a continual lust for more. When you engage in lust, and lust begins to drive you, Paul is saying the second thing that happens to you is you lose sensitivity. The word in the Greek is alego, and it means simply this: the ability to feel pain. You lose sensitivity. In the Greek, you lose the ability to feel pain. We no longer have boundaries because we feel no pain. I promised you I wasn't going to get into subjects like pornography and all of that. I just don't want to go there. But I will say this. One of the addictive parts of pornography is it is never enough. And what starts out with a boundary, well, I'll only click on this, but I won't click on that. Or I'll only click on this for 10 minutes. All of a sudden, because you lose sensitivity, the boundaries go away. And now it isn't a click on this or a click on that, it's a click on everything. And it's I'll spend the whole day in front of my computer screen. We lose sensitivity. It never satisfies. Lust cannot satisfy you. Well, she used to be a gourmet cook. She had her taste, her palate. She loved fine food, and she could just sample this and sample that. But what all of a sudden became something that appealed to her senses, and it's turned into now a lust. Now at 2 a.m. she's at the refrigerator eating the whole pot, the whole cake, and everything else in the refrigerator. And it's not enough. Well, what used to be a taste in fine, well-made shoes. I love well-made shoes. But all of a sudden, lust has gotten in there, and the loss of sensitivity, and the boundaries are gone. Now it's not having a nice pair of shoes, or 2 or 3. Now it's, I've got to have one in every color. I've got to spend because I can never get enough. And you see, it never satisfies. There is never enough. It leaves you emptier, lonelier, and it leaves you hungrier for more. It drives you. Last point is, are we destined to lose? Do we just give up? Do we just give up? I found in the Bible, I found a formula in dealing with lust. I found a formula. See, lust is strong, it's powerful, and being free from it is not easy. And I know our subject matter, our topic for the next several weeks is sex, but I'm not talking about just lust in sex, okay? You can have lust in every area of life. It can drive all areas of your life and cause you to live a life with no boundaries. It's never enough. Having that thing is never enough. I've got to get 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and it's still not enough. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28, Paul says this. He says, anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work doing something useful with their own hands, that they may have something to share with those in need. Now, I've read this portion of Scripture for years, and I really, honestly, have never paid it no mind, because I've never had a problem with stealing. It's one of the things I've never been able to do. So I just dismiss it. But what I fail to realize is Paul, the apostle, in his wisdom, is giving us a formula embedded within this text. So he says, anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, comma, not period, comma, but must work, comma, doing something useful with his own hands, comma, again, that he may have something to share with those in need. Now a period. If he would have said, anybody that steals, do not steal any longer, good luck with that. That's why you'll never hear me get up and rant and rave about the things you shouldn't do. Because if that's all there is to the message of what you can't do, good luck with that. You're going to go do it, okay? Don't drink, don't. We used to have a saying, don't drink, don't smoke, don't chew, and don't run with the girls that do, okay? And we all ran with the girls that did anyway. Because you told us what not to do, but you didn't give us a formula around it. When I gave my heart to the Lord, we were told, you can't marry outside the church. You can't marry somebody that is not saved. You know how disappointing that was to a guy my age at that time? Because all the girls in church were ugly. They're all church girls with long skirts and no makeup. And some of them, they needed makeup bad. You know, you just wanted to say, hey, if you looked in the mirror, you don't have a face. You better go get something and put it on and make one. So me and my buddies, because we lived in L.A. and back in the day, Sunset Strip was a big hooker run, right? So me and my buddies would joke, let's go up on Sunset Strip and let's pick up a couple of hookers. We'll pray, get them saved, put them in church, and then we'll marry them. We don't want no church girl that's been indoctrinated to look ugly. We want somebody that's got some sex appeal going, right? Why did I get off on that? I don't know. No idea. Oh, so Paul isn't telling us, don't steal, because that wouldn't be enough. You tell somebody that steals, don't steal, they're going to go right out and steal again. That's like me telling an alcoholic, don't ever take a drink again. Yeah, as soon as you turn your back, they're going to go hit a bottle again. It's like telling a womanizer, don't play with women that way, they deserve more. Next cute skirt that comes along, he's going to be hitting on her. In it, there's a formula. You see, because stealing has an adrenaline rush. Stealing is a form of addiction. It's stealing. You see, it's the planning. It's the strategizing. It's how do we avoid the security system. It's how can we get something for nothing. How do we get over on the store? There's a sense of rush. And when you're running down the block and you know the police are another block away and the sirens go and you're hoofing, your heart's pounding and the adrenaline is going and you get a big rush out of it. How many know that? Shame on you. You just admitted what you do. That was a trick question. Never put your hand up in church, ever. No matter what it is, keep your hand down. Okay. So, and especially when you do it with somebody else, there's a bond that happens because you're both having an adrenaline rush at the same time. Stealing is probably one of the most selfish acts that you can do. But it's addictive. It's addictive because of the adrenaline rush. So what is Paul saying in the text? He says, so those of you that are stealing, don't steal anymore, but, the very tools that you had to take, your hands, put them to use doing something different. Put them to use working. Put them to use working. But he didn't stop there either, did he? He addressed the adrenaline rush. You see, because working isn't going to give me an adrenaline rush. It's going to provide me something that is going to give me an adrenaline rush if I use it right. He says, so that you might have something to give to somebody else. That's the rush. That's the rush. That's why we have people that go distribute food. Why? Because they like to stand out there in triple-digit heat, passing food out in the back of our big white truck to people in apartment complexes. If you go up to them and say, are you enjoying this? Does this somehow make you feel good out here in the heat? They're going to say, no, not really. It's kind of horrible, actually. But why do you do it? Because I get a rush. When I give stuff to people that need it, it gives me a rush inside. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I get high off of giving stuff to people. Man, I dig this so much. When can we go do it again? I need another high. I need another adrenaline rush. You want to rush? Find somebody that needs something and go give it to them. Oh man, you will float the rest of the day. You will be on cloud 9. You'll be thinking, whatever that was I smoked, I'm going to go smoke it again tomorrow. I'm going to get another $20 and find somebody else I can go give it to. So what Paul is saying, he's saying, you used your hands as tools for a rush that wasn't so good. And now I'm going to tell you, switch. Use your hands as tools to gather stuff to give you a different kind of rush, a better rush. I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you to do it a little different. Do it different. Change it up. Do it a little different. The result inside is the same. You're going to feel really good, but you're going to be doing something good instead of taking from somebody. You know, I was reading the other day, I was reading about some young men in a church out Michigan way. And they were admittedly sex addicts. They were sex addicts. What all that meant, I don't know. One man in the group, the number of women he slept with was just astounding. These guys packed together, headed off to, I think it was the Philippines, got involved with an organization rescuing women from sex trafficking. They took the addiction and took that lust and reapplied it in another direction. And they went after it in a different direction that was the right direction, in a more fulfilling direction. And these guys were telling how fulfilled they felt for the first time in their life. They were doing that instead of this with the same fervency. So I don't know where you're at today. Maybe lust has gotten a hold of you in a way that you don't know how to stop it. Maybe it's a food addiction. Maybe you ought to take that food addiction and start making food and giving it to somebody else. Maybe it's an addiction to have more things. Maybe instead of getting more things, you ought to look in your closet and take some of the things you have and give it to somebody else. The thrill of my year is when Deborah cleans her closet. I don't have the addiction she has, I'm sorry. But I take all those clothes and I go give them to people. And I get high on it. I'm sorry. Maybe that's what you need to do. Whatever it is. Maybe if you're married and you're secretly wishing and looking at other women, and you're thinking, if I could only have that, I would be a happy man. If I had that instead of this. Maybe you need to switch it up. Put your attention on the this that you do have and make it all that you can be and all that she can be. You might find another level of happiness. Because I'm telling you the truth. And I speak from experience. I've talked to a lot of people. You leave her for that, and you might have a week or two of great happiness, but eventually you will regret it. You will regret it. Take the attention and the energy that you have chasing that behind her back and turn it around and chase her. Dote on her. Have sexy talk with her. Text her messages. And you might find that your relationship goes to a new high. Just say it. Just say it. Because lust makes a promise it cannot deliver. It can't deliver. And if you fall for the lie, like Eve did, you'll find out in the end, fruit always lie. Surely you won't die. Surely you won't die. She died. And he hated her with more hatred than he had loved her. Lust never fulfills itself right. He lusted, he had to have, he got it. But in the end, he hated her with more hatred than what he had loved her. The story goes on to tell us that her other brother ended up taking his life some years later. He ended up losing his life over that incident. Amen?